Yeah, I agree with everything they said as well. But, you know, I haven't been around a long time. I've only been doing this work for just over a decade. But I think that one thing, observing from my position at the ACLU and a member of the community here, is I think that the Snowden revelations really represent a terrifying moment for white people in this country. Not just white people, but middle-class people, upper-middle-class people, people who, you know, essentially, on some level, you know, consciously or subconsciously believed in the document, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and believed that these were realities that were protecting their everyday lives. And for people of color, particularly people who come from communities with a history of discrimination, with a history of being surveilled, with a history of second-class citizenship, with a history of the type of economic, you know, oppression that prevents one from realizing any of those rights on a day-to-day basis, I think it was a little annoying and frustrating. Like, I told you so. I told you they've been listening to all our phone calls. Like, it wasn't a huge surprise. But I do think that this has particular concerns for people of color, communities of color, and in particular here in the district, black communities and Latino communities. And that's because of the unique relationship to the criminal justice system or the social control system, which in the name of law seeks to control communities through policing and surveillance and law. And so I think that there are a lot of specific ways in which surveillance will be applied to further and strengthen the criminal justice system as it's applied to people of color, because this is a billion-dollar industry here in this country. And so we see that with regards to Border Patrol, we see that with regards to the sort of data mining that's going on and how it's specifically applied to racially profile. And all of that is happening in the context, this aggressive, blanket, indiscriminate surveillance of all people, this collection of information, which I'm quite sure they're not even, the government isn't even quite sure what to do with all this information. But all of that is happening in the context of stop and frisk. And why are they related? Well, they're related because of the Fourth Amendment. This sort of core value that was supposed to protect us from unreasonable government searches and seizure. Now, if you're a person of color or you live in a community of color, you know that that's not a reality in communities of color. We didn't need the stop and frisk case to know that every day young black men are getting thrown against the pavement, thrown against you know, aggressive physical encounters. We're not talking about, you know, clouds of suspicion. We're talking about faces to the concrete. And so that sort of targeted racial profiling is happening in the, you know, in the context where we have this sort of wide-scale profiling of entire communities across the country. So I think the surveillance issue is a problem for all Americans. It's something we should all be concerned about, but it's of particular concern to communities of color.